Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGameLLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today we're going to be taking a look at Project Elite, the new CMON edition that also includes all of the Kickstarter exclusives, the stretch goals, all of the expansions, sleeved cards, and extra dice, all in 2 boxes. We're going to store the majority of the components that you'll need for the core game in this base box here, as well as in the stretch goal box, the Terran box. The Terran box is going to have no lid lift, but the base box is going to have about 2 inches of lid lift here. So it is a bit heavy, but you'll see why as we open it up. So without further ado, let's get started. So we lift off the base box here, and right off the bat, you're going to see we have the rule book, the 2 game boards, we've got the timer, and then you'll notice that we have all of the miniatures. So these are the core game miniatures. You're going to use them kind of every game, especially the bosses. You don't know what will come up. And then you have lots of trays in here that have lots of dice. So I really like having the dice in these trays because it's easy to find what you need instead of rifling through a bag. One less step that you got to do to get the game started. So you just hand them to the player, they're ready to go. We've got a silica gel packet in here for freshness, and then we've got lots of these weapons in here as well. So the weapons are really nice to store in this area because they're going to lay flat and they're not going to get crushed. So they're not going to be damaged or in this nice bank here. And if they do come out from the item decks, you can easily grab them. You also have the bosses that are going to be from the Alien expansion. So you've got lots of different choices here with that. And these are from the Deathmaw Valley expansion as well. So just be aware, if you do not have those, then you don't have to worry about this. And we also have, underneath here, we have some of the mission tokens, and you'll see those scattered around here. Certain missions will require certain tokens, and there's lots of little spaces to accommodate all those. On the far left side here, we've got a ramekin. This is 10 for $1 at our local dollar store, the Dollar Tree. You open the top off, set it under, boom, you're ready to go. This is actually an upgraded component from Fantasy Flight Games. These are nice little discs. I really like how viscous they are and how gross they look. They very much look like blood tokens. I got rid of the other ones because they were a little bit fiddly, so I just like having these large chunks. When an enemy comes in, you put the damage on the enemy, and then instead of putting counters on it, you're going to remove the damage so that when that last damage is removed, they actually die. So I really like that system, and it fits really nicely in this little square notch here. In addition, you have a little round notch that's going to fit your spawn tokens as well as your search tokens. And then you'll have a little slot in here that's going to hold all sorts of these various tokens. So certain characters will have certain effects, like you have a cancel a movement token, a activate token. So you have lots of different tokens that can be dependent on the different monsters and the characters you're using. We have more mission tokens here. We have exploration, demolition, all sorts of different ideas here, and they're all going to sit here, these square tokens. And then on this bottom side, we're going to have all these trap tokens. So once again, these are all based on the scenario, so you're only going to pull out what you need. In addition to that, we have these target tokens, once again, specific scenarios. And then on the left side here, we're going to have all of the mini cards. So I will put links to the different sleeves in the description, but these are swarm spawn cards. They're going to be the alien tech cards for killing the bosses and all the search cards. That's all in here. So super nice, super efficient, and it all fits nicely. Just make sure that when you put the box away, you're going to not crush anything by kind of pushing the cards over like this and ensuring that the boss with the larger base is going to be on the right here so that it doesn't get crushed by the boards or the top of the box. But everything else should fit nicely. So we put those round containers here, our ramekin here, and our timer on top like that. Now let's go ahead and go to the next level. This next level is very straightforward. It's just all of your minions, so non-boss aliens. Pretty straightforward. You're just going to keep them in the tray that they came with. And then underneath that, you're going to have one more step. This is going to be more of those minions. So we have more minions, more bosses, 3D spawn tokens, the towers, as well as more characters that you can be. It'll keep all those in the original packaging as well. And then this last one is going to be similar packaging. You're going to have all of the heroes, you've got the bosses, and then you have these 2 wells for the standard size cards. Once again, these are sleeved. I'll leave in the description all the different sleeves I use. You've got all the different event cards, your boss spawn cards, and your reference cards all in here. So based on which characters and which combination and difficulty, those will come out differently. You also have separated your basic weapon cards. So these are ready to go, all separated out. And then you've got your profiles for the different creatures you're using underneath. So that all goes in these 2 wells here. And then in this large well, this is where you're going to put all of the characters. So all the characters, they have this nice shape to them where they're actually going to leave a spot in the middle here where you can store all of the player-specific components. So you've got the player bases as well as the cubes. You can simply just leave those in the center here, and it's going to take up no additional room. So really nice. You just go in, you take your disc, and then you find your cube for your health, and boom, you're ready to go. So really easy setup on this one. I really like the way that they laid out these organizers. It's just all about how you're actually going to use that space. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pack away the core box. So first we lay out the bottom base. We're going to put this second base here. This is the one with the turrets and the 3 markers. Then you're going to put the minions, the minion aliens. And then on top of that, you're going to put the characters and cards and everything with all the dice and whatnot. You'll then take the boards, make sure you're not crushing anything by pushing those cards over, and then you'll take the rulebook. And that's the core box. Very nice. Up next, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what's inside the Terran box. So this is going to include all your expansion content. So that way you can simply bring the base box if you just want the core experience, but if you want the expansion, here we go. So right off the bat, we have all the boards from the Alien expansion. They're placed nicely and pretty evenly. That way it stays flat. This one has no lid lift. We have the Deathmaw Valley board. Super cool. This really nice kind of lane board. And underneath that, we have 3 distinct sections. So in this right section here, we're going to have all of the swarmlings. So these are the flyers. So you can use these if you want in place of one of the other minions. And then we actually have cut out one of the expansion containers for cards, because they do work nicely for this. They fit sleeve cards. So we got the Flyers profile, the Flyer spawn cards. Underneath we have specific scenario gates if you're playing that Alien expansion. We have the item cards, additional med packs if you're playing those aliens. They're very difficult, so you need them. And then additional spawn and cards and tokens for those missions. So we can easily just pick those back up by putting our gates, our cards, and then our flyer reference card on top. So it fits really nicely in that little container. And then inside we've got just all of the flyers in here, so they're ready to come out. And then you're actually going to put 2 of the more fragile pieces from the Deathmaw Valley on this right side. This one actually got crushed, so we had to super glue it. While we were playing, somebody accidentally squashed it, so that's why it looks like that. But just to keep them nice, we've got a lot of extra room and nothing can get squished here, so that's all going to be on the right side. And you'll actually notice that this is inside of a box itself. So this is from the Rook Team expansion. So this is the box from that. It fits all of them really nicely, and the 2 of them side by side fit nicely in the base box. So all of that is going to make up that right side. So the lid of the Rook Team is going to make up this left side. It's going to have all of the rule books for all of the different expansions here. You're also going to have all of the Rook Team boards. The dice bag that's going to hold additional dice. Now, I don't normally use these because I do prefer the marble ones, but hey, each to their own. And then you've got all of the Deathmaw Valley components. So in a plastic bag here, we've got all the cards that you need. So this includes all of the specific scenario cards as well as the Deathmaw itself. We have the Deathmaw segmented here. And I would recommend that if you do use the Deathmaw, we actually shave down the pieces for the Deathmaw. And that way you're not going to have it break as you play. So we shave down the sides of these so they come out really easily, and we put sticky tack inside of each of these so that way they stay, they move, but they pull apart nicely, so you're not going to have as much of an issue when you play with this. I know that people have had a lot of issues with this breaking on them, so just be aware that is totally a thing that can happen when you use this expansion. Underneath that, you have just all the scenario markers for the Deathmaw, his tail, some extra body segments, as well as additional tokens. This is just an extra organizer from another game, so I figured why not throw it in here. Those ramekins will work just fine, or plastic bags. Once again, not a big deal, don't stress about this one, but for me, it worked just kind of setting things nicely in here. So we put that Deathmaw in there, the cards, the Rook Team, the bag, and then the rules on top. And then lastly, this top section here, you're actually going to have your Rook miniatures, and they can all sit without any protection in here because these Rook boxes are going to keep them safe. We've got a bag that's going to hold all of the ammo cards if you're using those weapons. We've got all the Rook components, all the alien tech for the campaign, And then we have 2 of those ramekins for the ammo expansion if you decide to use those. And that's everything in this second box. So let's go ahead and pack it up. We put the Death Maw on top. We put the 2 boards. Oop. And we close it up. And that is organizing Project Elite. If you have any questions about what you saw here, please let me know down in the comments below. How do you organize your copy of Project Elite? Is this something that you think is exciting? How would you recommend I do it? Is there any game you'd like to see organized? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. It really helps us grow. Thank you so much for watching. SideGame Strong.